Hello, I'm Tom Nikl, the lead technical marketing engineer at Wanova. Today, I'd like to spend some time talking about the Wanova Mirage 3.0 solution that was recently released. Our goal today will be to give you an introduction into the desktop virtualization market and then talk about the benefits that Wanova can provide within that market. Before we get into the details about Mirage itself, let's first spend some time talking about a topic that's gotten a lot of press over the past few years: desktop virtualization. Every organization has end users, and these end users require a device to work on. Typically, these devices come in the form of a Windows-based PC or laptop, but managing them on a one-to-one basis has become quite a challenge for IT. This has led to an effort to centralize desktop management into the data center, whereby IT manages one copy of Windows centrally. One such methodology to attempt this is VDI, or Virtual Desktop Infrastructure. The idea behind VDI was to take the user endpoints, migrate them to the data center onto tens or hundreds of servers, and then deliver those endpoints to the user over the network via thin clients. Of course, typically VDI has only been able to deliver static images, and an intensely powerful network connection was required, so VDI only represents a small use case within desktop virtualization. Additionally, VDI failed to support an organization's existing fleet of laptops and desktops, so often IT was left managing all the previous endpoints as well as a new and complex VDI infrastructure. Although VDI only fulfilled a small subset of use cases in the desktop virtualization space, it is still responsible for helping drive a change in the thought leadership within IT. And what IT organizations are realizing is that what they have deployed in the past are numerous systems, some of which never operate well together, to fulfill a number of different needs within an organization. What ended up happening was solution sprawl and high costs as IT tried to manage all of the solution silos that had sprung up. The new thought process represents moving those isolated solution silos into one cohesive solution where IT can manage all of their desktop management needs without creating a complex and fragile solution ecosystem. And this cohesive solution that IT desired revolved around centralization. The benefits of a cohesive centralization solution are clear. It allows an IT organization to build a more seamless desktop management solution, and once that centralization is complete, it empowers IT organizations to do a number of things. Total endpoint disaster recovery. Now, when an end user loses or breaks a laptop, it becomes easy to replace. The hardware becomes disposable because the true data is already backed up in the data center. All that needs to happen is for that data to be sent down to a new device. This can happen quickly and seamlessly. Image and patch management. When IT has the ability to distribute operating system images to endpoints, it allows them to fine-tune and manage the patches, updates, and applications that get distributed to their end users. And instead of managing thousands of endpoints one by one, they can now manage one golden image and distribute that to the organization's endpoints. In-place Windows XP to Windows 7 migration. As we all know, Windows XP support is ending in 2014. Organizations need to migrate their users from Windows XP to Windows 7. With a good centralization solution, IT organizations can send down a Windows 7 image to an existing Windows XP device, and with minimal user downtime and zero touch by IT, transform an XP device into a Windows 7 device without any user data being lost. Similarly, hardware migration and refresh become a piece of cake as well. When everything is centralized, hardware becomes disposable. Moving a user between devices or refreshing a user's hardware never requires a user starting from scratch anymore. Their centralized data and settings and applications follow them from their old device to their new device. Lastly, centralized zero-touch PC repair. IT organizations can leverage the power of their centralized images and fix end-user devices that have gone out of compliance and had applications break as a result. Or a user who gets a virus can quickly be reverted to a snapshot from a previous day before the virus outbreak hit. These are just a few of the benefits of centralization. With the right centralization solution, an IT organization can perform all of these operations, and more, with just a few clicks from one management console. It's also important to note that while VDI is an attractive solution in a few use cases, the reality is that right now there's 600 million deployed business PCs compared to just 20 million thin clients. And in 2011, it's projected that another 400 million business PCs will have been shipped versus 6 million thin clients. Therefore, it is key for any IT organization to remember that their existing hardware still has all of the desktop management needs going forward with or without VDI. Believe it or not, there is a solution that can provide all of the benefits that VDI offers without the pitfalls for all of your existing Windows PCs. Let's talk about Wanova's Mirage software. Mirage is an intelligent desktop virtualization solution. Our premise is simple. Connect Windows XP and Windows 7 endpoints to a Mirage system and have those endpoints automatically centralized to the data center over a protocol that was designed and optimized to work over any LAN or WAN. And those centralized endpoint objects will include everything, soup to nuts, from the operating system, the user-installed applications, user data, and user profile settings. It's literally an entire clone of that user's PC, now stored in your data center and kept automatically synchronized. If your end user adds a file, we'll upload it to the data center automatically. When you centralize your fleet of Windows PCs in this manner, it affords IT a full range of desktop management options. Design and deploy Windows images to your endpoints with all the patches and updates that IT requires. Easily restore a device that an end user has lost or broken. Fix broken applications or virus-infected PCs centrally. Perform a hardware refresh without losing any of your end user's data or settings. Migrate a user from Windows XP to Windows 7 without them having to get up from their desk and deliver their PC to IT. And perform software and hardware inventory reporting on your entire hardware fleet. With Mirage, we make all of this possible. But by now you may be asking, how is this any different from VDI? Well, we have plenty of answers for that, so let's go down the list. Mirage requires no client or server hypervisors. On the server side, we install directly onto Windows Server 2008 R2. On the client side, we install directly onto a Windows XP or Windows 7 system. Not only is this easier to manage than VDI, but it also prevents Windows licensing issues, where you're paying for a device to run Windows once, and then paying for a Windows hypervisor within that Windows device, essentially doubling your Windows licensing costs with no actual advantage. Mirage also leverages all of your end users' local compute power. Desktops and laptops are cheaper than ever, but their power continues to grow. Since Mirage runs directly on the endpoints, the end user can enjoy all of that power, and all of the personalizations and customizations that they've grown accustomed to over the years. Network becomes a non-issue with Mirage too. We spent a lot of time on our WAN optimizations and our storage deduplication efforts to make sure Mirage would work on any LAN or WAN. We'll talk about our architecture on the next slide a little more, but needless to say, unlike VDI, we work well on the LAN and the WAN. Deploying Mirage also has low CapEx costs. One Mirage server can host up to 1,500 endpoints. Not only does Mirage have low CapEx costs for hardware, especially compared to VDI, but since we don't require a massive server backend, we also have negligible power and cooling costs over time as well. And on top of all the CapEx savings, we're also simple to deploy. If Wanova had to wrap up all of these advantages into one idea, it would be this: manage centrally, execute locally. Okay, we've covered what Mirage is and how it's different from VDI. Let's spend some time on the architecture now and step you through a typical Mirage deployment. Step 1 in the Mirage architecture is simple. You have a Wanova Mirage 3.0 server in your data center on the left, and on the right you've got your Windows endpoints. On these endpoints you've installed the 2 MB Mirage client. And once that happens, we do two things. First, we break that endpoint up into logical layers. We don't change the data at all, but we do keep track of what that endpoint is composed of with regards to installed applications, user data, machine data, etc. We do this to allow IT to perform more granular management of these devices going forward. Next, once we've built our logical layer, we take all of the local data from these endpoints and centralize them into our Mirage server in your data center. We do this over a protocol that's been optimized heavily for the WAN. To start, before we transmit any data across your network, we calculate the delta between what is stored in the data center and what is on the endpoints. We'll only send the data that doesn't currently exist at the destination over the network. This saves a tremendous amount of bandwidth, and we use a global manifest to do this. That means that if 1,000 users all have the same PowerPoint, we'll only transfer it and store it in your data center once. When another user modifies that PowerPoint, we'll only store those changes and keep track of which users made what changes. In addition to that deduplication, we'll also compress any data we send over the network as well. When we say we spent a lot of time optimizing our transmission protocols for the WAN, we mean it. Once the endpoints are centralized in the data center, you can begin doing image management. You can use any standard Windows device to create a core image to distribute to your other devices. Because of our logical layering, applying these images will never overwrite user data or user-installed applications, unless a user-installed application is in conflict with an application that IT has installed in the core image. And again, although the core image contains Windows, since the endpoints already have Windows as well, we'll only send the data that doesn't already exist on your endpoints over the network, once again saving a tremendous amount of bandwidth and time. What you've accomplished now is pretty impressive. You've centralized all of your users' endpoints to the data center, and those endpoints will continue to synchronize automatically whenever there's a network connection available. This way the data center always has an up-to-date copy of all of your end users' endpoints. IT can also apply corporate images to those endpoints without disrupting the user's data or inflicting user downtime, and without taking away the end user's power to personalize their device or leverage all of its local computing power. Happy end user, happy IT. It's not every day you can make a statement like that. We've mentioned a few times that Mirage will break up endpoints into logical layers before centralizing them to the data center. Again, these layers are purely logical and do not affect the data on the endpoint whatsoever. But let's talk about what those layers are. Typically speaking, an IT-managed endpoint has components which are defined solely by the end user and components that are defined solely by the IT organization. At the bottom of this diagram, we have 3 red layers, which in this case would be applied by the IT organization's single Windows image. These layers would include drivers, the operating system, core applications, and possibly departmental applications. All of these layers can be delivered to an endpoint using Mirage. The top 3 layers, in blue, are defined by the end user and involve their machine customizations, user-installed applications, user data, and user personalizations. These are the things that make their laptop their laptop. The reason Mirage splits up each endpoint into logical layers before centralization is simply to empower IT to perform more granular fix capabilities. For example, IT can now fix a broken application in the base layer without affecting anything in the blue layers. Or similarly, if a user gets a virus, IT can clean the user app layer without changing the base layer, and so on and so forth. So what's the value proposition here? We like to break it up into 2 sections. The value proposition for the IT organization and for the end user. On the IT side, by centralizing your endpoints, Mirage can provide single image management, disaster recovery for the entire PC, centralized repair, centralized migrations and hardware refreshes, reduce the desktop management total cost of ownership, and we can support up to 1,500 users on a single server. On the end user side, regardless of how many times they break or lose their laptop, they receive persistent data and personalization for their device. We provide them with fast, optimized restores over a WAN, local computing power so they can continue working with or without a network connection, the ability to access their data from any web browser using our file portal, native performance of their powerful PCs, and no change in behavior whatsoever. An end user gets to continue using their powerful, customized device without any real knowledge that Mirage is even deployed. With any luck, by now you're wondering, what do I need to deploy the Mirage solution by Wanova? So let's talk about this quick, and I think you'll be pretty surprised. To support up to 1,500 laptops and or desktops, you need just one Windows Server 2008 R2 machine. That machine would need at least 16 gigabytes of RAM, 2 quad-core CPUs, and 100 gigabytes of local storage for the network cache. On the storage side, you can expect requiring roughly 15 gigabytes per user, which we recommend allocating on a SAN or NAS. And if you need more than 1,500 users, no problem. You can easily cluster multiple Mirage servers together and put them all behind a load balancer. And for all your remote offices, we have the branch reflector feature, which allows you to enable peer-to-peer distribution of images from the Mirage server to your branch office through one local device. And there you have it. That's the Wanova Mirage 3.0 solution in a nutshell. Everything from the desktop virtualization story, why VDI only fulfills a small use case, and how Mirage can help you achieve supreme efficiency at a low cost for your desktop management operations, and without disrupting or upsetting your end users in the process. These are just a few of the awards we've won so far, with many more to come. And if you'd like any more details, or if you'd like to watch some of our videos to see the Mirage software in action, please visit us at www.wanova.com. Thank you for taking the time to view this webinar, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.